The Livina nameplate makes a comeback here in the Philippines, and in this video, we take a first look at the Philippine spec Nissan Livina. Let's do this! It's no secret that Nissan and Mitsubishi are corporate allies, so it comes as no surprise that the Nissan Livina is based off the Mitsubishi Xpander platform. It's the same type of badge engineering that brought us cars like the Toyota 86 and the Subaru BRZ, and the Isuzu D-Max and the Mazda BT50 collaboration, to name a few. Badge engineering is a great way to save on costs and pass on those savings to the consumer, but it begs the question, is this Nissan Livina a better Mitsubishi Xpander? And that is what I aim to find out today. But before we begin, I'd like to invite you to click that subscribe button for your regular dose of Philippine automotive content. Also, special thanks to Nissan Philippines for giving me access to the Nissan Livina to do this first look video. Since this is a first look video, I really don't have much details yet of the Philippine spec Nissan Livina. Heck guys, I'm gonna be very honest with you, I don't have any details at all because Nissan Philippines just dropped this vehicle off with me, and here we are now doing this first look video. Now, as far as I know, there will be 3 variants of the Nissan Livina in the country, and I do believe that I got the top spec trim here because we have leather seats inside. Now, I also don't have the price yet, but the Nissan Livina should be more affordable than the updated Mitsubishi Xpander, so you can expect it to be at the million Philippine peso price level. So what sets this Nissan Livina apart from its Mitsubishi cousin? Well, based on my observations of this media launch unit, well, of course, the front fascia. You see, the Nissan Livina gets Nissan's corporate V-motion front grille here, which incorporates the LED DRLs quite well. Now, we also have a differently shaped headlight units here. Instead of getting rectangular headlight units, well, the Livina now gets like a pentagon-shaped headlight unit here, although the headlights themselves are just halogen units, which is Nissan's way of keeping the Nissan Livina a lot more cost-effective. Now, I do love the fact that it gets like fog lights here underneath the headlights, which is for me a more logical and a better looking placement than the Canon-like fog lights found in the Xpander. Now, the Livina also gets this silver trim found underneath the front bumper, which gives this MPV really more of a sporty vibe. Now, when you put that all together, well, this Nissan Livina looks more like a sporty yet classic MPV here, and I dare say that this Livina looks sexier than its cousin. Here on the side, the Nissan Livina gets chromed out power folding side mirror housings here with LED turn signals. We also get chrome for door handles, and we also have, well, larger doors here at the back for easier access. Now, I also noticed that we get a silver or matte silver trim here on the sides, which goes well with the ones found on the front bumper. And the door panels also gets more lines and creases here than its Mitsubishi cousin. So yes, the Nissan Livina has really more of a crossover look here on the side rather than that of an MPV. Now, when you take your attention to the wheels and tires of the Livina, it gets 16-inch alloy wheels here, which is similar to the Xpander. And, well, based on my observations here, well, it looks like it also gets identical mechanical bits as the one found in the Xpander. And now, that means that we have ventilated disc brakes up front, drums at the back, and for the suspension, we have a MacPherson setup in the front and a torsion beam at the back. Now, since the mechanical bits are identical to the Mitsubishi cousin, then the ground clearance also stands at 205 millimeters for this Livina, which is perfectly decent for an MPV. Here at the back, the Livina gets some more design cues that further separate it from its Mitsubishi cousin. While the taillight housing is the same shape and design, the Livina gets a different design for its inner taillight units, and I do believe these are LED taillights. Although, yeah guys, don't quote me on that because as I said, I still don't have the actual specs of this vehicle, the Philippine spec Livina. So yeah, don't quote me on that. Now, we also have here a pair of what looks like faux rear skid plates here, which well, completes the look found on this Livina because we have those ground effects found on the side and the front as well. Now, when you pop open the liftgate of the Livina, you'll see that true to MPV form, well, we do get a ton of space here at the back. Now, with the third row seats in use, we can still put a medium-sized luggage here, and we also have some more compartments found underneath the floor for smaller items. Now, if you fold down the third row seats, and yes, the third row seats here do fold flat, then you can now have space for 1, 2, 3, 4 medium-sized luggage, and it's not going to be an issue. Now, if you need to transport larger items here in the Livina, then the second row seats can also fold flat, which is great news in terms of versatility. Since the Nissan Livina is manufactured in the same Indonesian plant that makes the Xpander, then I expect to get the same engine and transmission units here. You see, what we have here is a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder gasoline motor that puts out 103 horsepower and 141 Newton meters of torque. Power is still sent to the front wheels via what appears to be a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I did notice that the Livina does not get an engine cover here, which personally I like, and I also got a little bit better fuel economy than the one I experienced in the Xpander. Now, that surprised me a bit, guys, because the Nissan Livina returned to me 11.5 kilometers per liter in the city and 20 kilometers per liter on the highway, which is, as I said, a bit better than the Xpander. So that's kind of telling me that Nissan tuned the Livina a little bit differently from its Mitsubishi cousin. But still, guys, better fuel economy? Yeah, it's always a 2 thumbs up for me. The cockpit of the Nissan Livina is familiar, especially for those who've been inside the cabin of a Mitsubishi Xpander. See, we get the same layout here, although this Nissan Livina now gets leather seats, which adds a bit more of a premium feel to this MPV. Now, that complements the leather-wrapped steering wheel here that also gets some glossy black designs here on the lower half. Although, I did notice that the steering wheel does not get cruise control buttons, so that's a bit of a step back, although I don't see it as a deal breaker, especially if, let's say, you don't really go out on the highway too much. However, the steering wheel also adjusts for tilt, and it also telescopes, which is great news for taller drivers out there. Now, when you look at the instrument gauge cluster of the Livina, you'll see that we get an analog display here, although we do have a colored multi-information display in the middle. That also shows you an engine temperature gauge, which is a 2 thumbs up for me. Now, when we move over to the infotainment system, the Livina gets a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system here that comes with Bluetooth connectivity and smartphone mirroring. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto here, but at least we do have the image of a reverse camera. Now, we also have reverse parking sensors here, so that is a big plus for the Nissan Livina. And speaking of reverse parking sensors, well, as you're seeing on your screen, these are the safety bits that I've observed here in this Nissan Livina. Now, I did notice that it gained traction control, which, some of the other MPVs out there don't get traction control, but it still has to make do with dual airbags here. Well, as as far as my observation can see, because I don't see any side airbag designations here inside the cabin. Now when we move over to the climate control setup here, well, we have a manual climate control system, and if you look at the controls for the temperature, well, you see that it's all in blue because yeah, it doesn't really have a heating option, I guess. So we only have a cold and colder and coldest. Yeah, so yeah, that's actually Nissan for you. It's always been known for cold air cons. Now another thing that I notice here is, yeah, we have a USB charge port, but forget about charging your phone on that USB port, because really guys, it's really just a trickle charge and it's not really that effective. So if you want to charge your cell phones, you might as well get a 12-volt charger, a USB adapter here for the 12-volt outlet, because that would be far more effective. Now we also have a couple of cup holders here beside the manual handbrake that I will subject to my 600 ml clean canteen test. Now the Xpander cousin passed this, so yeah, it also passes my clean canteen test. See, the Livina passes with flying colors. Now just like the Xpander, this Livina also doesn't get a center armrest here, and instead it actually is just a storage cubby there. Now, speaking of storage cubbies, well, this Livina gets a bunch of storage options here. We have some shelves here in the middle dashboard. We have, yeah, of course, the glove box and a lot of other storage bins. But when you check out the cabin materials, well, as expected from a value MPV, the cabin materials are just made out of hard plastics here. Yeah, but at least yeah, we still get a bunch of storage options. The Nissan Livina gets a pretty typical second row seats here for an MPV. I'm 5'6", guys, and this is my driving position here, and I get a good like 6 to 7 inches of knee room here, and around 8 inches of headroom. Now you can put 2 average Asian adults here. A third one can fit in the middle in case of a pinch, but it's going to be a little bit on the tight side. Now as for the third row seats, guys, well, just like the Xpander, this Nissan Livina's third row seats are decent for adults who are like 5'6", for short trips, or for, let's say, for kids in case you're going out on a longer trip. It's spacious enough to be quite comfortable, but it's not really the class leader in this segment. Now as for the amenities here, well, the Nissan Livina gets a row of AC vents here on the ceiling with its own blower control, and we also have this center armrest here, but it doesn't really have a cup holder there. The Nissan Livina is a good-looking MPV, although its tech and amenities are a little bit on the simple and no-frills side. It may not have the bells and whistles that can be found in the newer MPVs in its price segment, although I'm really hoping that it more than makes up for it with a more affordable asking price. I mean, seriously guys, I really don't have the price when I made this video for you, and I am really hoping that this will be more affordable than the other MPVs in its segment. Well, hopefully. Anyway guys, that concludes my first look video of the Nissan Livina, and I do hope that you click that subscribe button so that you'll be here when I upload my initial driving impressions of this vehicle right here. Anyway guys, thanks for watching.